Welcome back to the Big Tire Garage. It's time once again for another one of our Q&A sessions from here inside the shop. As we start all these videos the same way, just a reminder, you ask a question on any of my YouTube videos, really. We randomly go through, select a bunch of those questions, drop them on some pieces of paper, then I come out here to the shop, sit down with a cup of Gearhead coffee, and then I will answer those questions for you. If I choose your question to be answered, you simply email me your mailing address at bigtiregarage@gmail.com. I will send you a sticker pack. We're still waiting for the sticker from the Colorado build. We had an issue with getting that file from our designer. Fortunately, he has a computer crash, but he's getting it all fixed. As soon as we get that, we'll add that to the sticker pack. And if you want to buy stickers, or we now have patches, if you want to buy some patches, you can head on over to our merch site. There'll be a link in the description below. Thanks to everyone who's bought stickers and patches, all that kind of stuff. We're working on a limited edition run t-shirt. I'm just trying to get all of our sizes figured out. There you go. So let me know what size you would like. Right now we're looking at some extra larges, some double XLs. I'm going back and forth on whether we're gonna do a few kid sizes and some small sizes as well. We're just kind of trying to get that math figured out. I think we're going to print like 1,000 shirts. That'll be or not 1,000, I should say that, 150 shirts, limited edition, and then we're going to offer them up for a short period of time on the website. When they're gone, they are gone. So before we jump into our Q&A session here in the shop, I want to thank today's video sponsor, Brilliant. Now, as a former teacher, I know that learning new subjects can often be difficult. But thanks to Brilliant.org, understanding new concepts can actually be very easy. But with Brilliant.org, learning new concepts is very easy. With thousands of lessons available and new ones being added every month, Brilliant.org is a great resource for students, parents, or anyone who wants to hone their skills. With courses in computer science, math, science and engineering, and data science, Brilliant has courses that takes these complex theories and produce them into easy to understand formats. Each course includes interactive quizzes, easy to understand visual aids, and step-by-step lessons that will help you master the concepts and improve your problem-solving skills. These lessons can help you understand complex problems by explaining them with easy-to-follow real-world applications, allowing you to pick the subjects that you want to learn, understand, and apply to your life, whether it's school, work, or just to augment your hobby. To try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/bigtiregarage. The first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Question comes from Cody Shepard 3447. What is your next fab tool going to be? You've got a CNC Plasma, various benders, and the like. What do you still want to have in your shop? Well, that's a good question, because I am a self-proclaimed tool junkie. I love getting new tools for the shop. So a tool that I've recently got 2 new tools, and I'll put a link to the description right here. I bought a new benchtop drill press when I was at the PRI show, and I built a stand for that. So I got that all done, so I'm happy about that. It's kind of back and forth about whether I want a drill press or not, but now that I've got it, I'm kind of glad I got it. It's just nice to have when you're like reaming out holes in brackets instead of having to do it by hand. It's nice to have the drill press to do it. But one tool that I've kind of been back and forth about getting, and now I finally have it, is a horizontal bandsaw. Now, a lot of people have asked me, they see me cutting with my chop saw, and it's an abrasive chop saw, and they want to know why I don't have one of those like metal blades on there. And there's a couple good reasons. Number one, they're so loud, and I mean like excruciatingly loud. And I'm okay with loud tools. I like the grinders and I like everything, but they are like something about the pitch on those things. And they work great till they don't. The blades are rather expensive, and yeah, there's no sparks or anything from them, and yeah, it cuts a little bit cooler, but instead of investing in that type of blade for my chop saw or a saw that cuts using those blades, I have been wanting to get a horizontal bandsaw for a while. Now, the reason I wanted the horizontal bandsaw is because it works really well at cutting miters, like really well. So you can really set up the miter head on it and get that perfect angle on a piece of steel if you want it. So even with a chop saw, you're kind of guessing at those angles. Like, you're getting close, but you'll never be perfect. Don't get me wrong, I still have my chop saw. I'm still gonna use that chop saw. So the next tool I am going to get is going to be one of those horizontal bandsaws. I've actually looked at a bunch of different types. I don't want to spend a pile of money. The one thing that I want it to be is I want it to be mobile. I want it to have wheels on it, and I want it to have a blade cooler. So I want to have it like the little pump that pumps the cutting fluid onto the blade, because I think that helps the life of the blade a lot. And I don't want it to be huge, and that's a couple things. So that kind of narrows it down to probably 3 or 4 different ones. Honestly, right now I'm looking at one from Woodward Fab. I think that's going to be the one I jump on. It looks like you get a lot of saw for the money. They're not cheap. You know, a good one is going to be anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000. But even if I get one of those chop saws with the metal blade, I don't even know what you'd call it, to be honest. I'm sorry, but it's basically not an abrasive chop saw. They're like $500, and I think instead of spending $500 on that, I'll just keep my old school Home Depot abrasive chop saw for doing quick cuts, and then I'm gonna get this horizontal bandsaw for when I need to get like super detailed cuts. That's my next big tool that I'm gonna get here inside the shop. What's the next tool you want to get for your shop? Let us know in the comments below. Tell me what you're going to get, if you got a big shop tool purchase idea, or let me know if you have a specific tool that you think I should have in my shop that I haven't got there yet. So let us know in the comment section below, and who knows, maybe I'll pick one of those to get a sticker pack too. I don't know, I got lots of sticker packs, so I can send them out. Question number 2 is from Thomas Yingling. Oh, I guess he likes Yingling Lager. I'm going to assume that. Yingling's pretty good. What is the general rule for minimum up travel on an off-road trail crawler with good bumps and shocks when trying to keep lift and center of gravity as low as possible? Forums are all over the place when it comes to the center of gravity / clearance debate. Yeah, that's true. And I think the reason that, especially you mentioned forums, that's like kind of like old school. Basically, it's changed. It honestly has. So if we go back 10 years ago, it was pretty commonplace for a standard off-road vehicle that we were building to maybe have 4 inches of up travel. That was considered a lot on a 14-inch travel shock. So we built a lot of rigs we'd build them low, we'd build them with minimum up travel and a lot of droop to keep the center of gravity down low. What we do now is a little bit different because of events like King of the Hammers. It's kind of changed our feeling towards our off-road vehicles. Now we kind of look at it as like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I want a crawler, but sometimes I still want to be able to blast to the trail and have a little bit of fun. So now we kind of split it 50-50, to be honest with you. So on a 14-inch travel shock, you're usually looking at about 6 inches of shock shaft showing, if not 7. And then if we're looking at a 16-inch travel shock, we're looking at about 8 inches of shock shaft showing. So that would give you approximately 8 inches of up travel, 8 inches of droop. Unless you mounted that shock on a trailing arm or a leading arm, then you'd get even more. Really, it boils down to packaging. So I think a lot of the times what ends up happening is you want the vehicle fairly low, that's a given. Because if you make it really tall when you are off-road, it becomes very top-heavy. So my suggestion would be is build it as low as possible. And when I say low, I mean, if you're looking at a belly height of anywhere in the 22 to 28 inch area, that's a pretty good low belly height. You have to remember in an off-road rig, especially if we're talking about a Jeep, let's use a Jeep as an example. It's very easy to get the center of gravity down low, especially if you're doing an engine swap, because if you drop that engine just, you know, an inch or 2 inside the chassis, which you can easily do in a Jeep, and not have to worry about dropping the belly down very low. There's lots of room in the tub for that drivetrain. You can get that center of gravity fairly low because there's really nothing up top. Unless you put a roof rack on it, put a bunch of stuff on the roof, which you shouldn't do if you're building a crawler. If you're building an overlander, that's a completely different thing. But you can get that center of gravity fairly low. I would say, for myself, I try to get at least 6 inches of up travel, and then I try to get that belly height somewhere right in that mid-20s, like 22, 24 inches range, ideally. I know sometimes that can't be done because of packaging and everything like that. So because of that, an option would be never hesitate to go to a shorter shock. Because here's what's going to happen. If you take a Jeep, you stuff a 14-inch travel shock in it, and you try to get 7 inches of up travel, but keep the Jeep very low, what ends up happening sometimes, and you've seen them out there on the trail, the shock is through the hood because they basically push the upper shock mount up as high as they can, which is fine. But then you got a big hole in the hood with the shock sticking through it. So what I would suggest is when you're packaging everything together, if you looking for that 50-50 shock setup, and you're honest with yourself and you set the vehicle up, get the axles underneath it, get the suspension done, don't order your shocks yet. Build your suspension, get everything figured out, and go from there. And then look at it and say, you know what? I can't fit a 14-inch travel shock. I'll fit a 12-inch travel shock. You'll be much happier with that 12-inch shock and having 6 inches of up travel and 6 inches of droop than you will with a 14-inch travel shock having 3.5 inches of up travel, because you're going to get into the bump a lot sooner. Or cutting a hole in the hood. A difference of an inch here and there when it comes to suspension travel, unless you're building like a full-on tube buggy rock crawler, is not a big deal. So myself, I try to land, anytime I'm building something, like you said before, I want to get the center of gravity fairly low, so belly pan 20-ish inches, 20, 22, 24, somewhere in there. You don't want to go too low. If you get that belly super low, what ends up happening is then you just drag it over anything. So I like that belly basically center of the tire is where it ends up being, without like a 20-inch belly on a set of 40s. And then end up, if you can, with about half of your shock shaft. Now, all of this is what I'm talking about is basically all about coilover suspension. With coils and shocks, it's going to be a little bit different because you're not going to get as much up travel depending on the coil, because the coil will actually go into what's called coil bind because coils are fairly short. So if you can get 6 inches of up travel, you're winning the game. If you can get on a coilover sprung rig, if you can get 4 to 5 inches of up travel before you get into the bump on a coil sprung, like a factory style suspension, then you're doing really well. You'll be happy with those numbers. Leaf springs, that's a completely different game, because with leaf springs, they're actually not going to move as much. So I've seen leaf springs with only like 2.5, 3 inches of up travel, believe it or not, and they ride great. So I hope that answers your question. I know, like you said, it's all over the map. Every time you ask somebody, someone's going to give you a different answer, but that's kind of what I shoot for. I try to get like that basically 50-50 shock setup, or 60-40 is where it ends up. So that would be 60% droop, 40% up travel. There you go. Good luck on your build. Let us know what you're building in the comments below. Don't forget to send me an email and I'll get that sticker pack out to you ASAP. Here we go. Lost Man Campground asks, every year I look forward to seeing the concept vehicles presented by Jeep at Moab Easter Jeep Safari. Do you have a favorite one of these they've done? And what's a concept vehicle you wish they'd build? Ooh, good question. Man, favorite one. That's tough because I kind of got a couple. I would say a lot. Oh, no, I know which one's my favorite. I loved when Chrysler built the Mighty FC. Now, I think they did it like 2007, 2008 when they first came out with the JK, because that was actually, believe it or not, a JK tub. If you look at it closely, you can see that it still has a JK cowl on it and everything. Love that truck. That's my absolute favorite Chrysler concept vehicle. I think it is super, super cool. Now I think the concept vehicles have kind of gone a completely different route. And this happens a lot with OEMs. What happens with OEMs with concept vehicles is they will often shy away from those crazy one-off builds and build things that are more like, hey, you could build this yourself. And I understand that. It's kind of easy to build the Mighty FC and then be like, that's a concept vehicle that you will never be able to afford to build and or buy. And no, we're not making, it's like the two-door, they built the two-door Gladiator, and that was an amazing truck, and so many people wanted it. I mean, if they had one on the lot, I'd probably go buy one today. I ended up building my own because they didn't build it. I think that that's an awesome truck, but they never offered it. And that's tricky when you're an OEM and you're making concepts like that, because if you're making concepts of vehicles that you're never going to build, sometimes you can actually offend the people who are going to build or buy your vehicles. So I think what they're doing now is more attainable concept vehicles, you know. So it's like they had the Gladiator with the you know, the aluminum bed on the back with all the stuff on it. They do the Magneto, the EV stuff, which I think it's kind of cool. But that would be, I think they're a little bit more tame now, so I don't get as excited as I used to. Now, I say that, I'll go to Easter Jeep this year and they'll have something amazing. So which one do I wish they would build? I've got an idea for a project. I don't want to tell you what it is because my fear is I'm not going to be able to get to it this year. I'm probably going to have to wait until next year to get to it. But I will say this, what I want to build is a full-size, I'll just tell you what it is. If you build it, who cares? I actually already saw one of these, and that's kind of why someone else has already built this, but I'm going to do a little bit of twist on it. I want to do a full-size Jeep Cherokee. I got to check measurements on it to see. I want to do full-size Jeep Cherokee, pickup truck bed, but I want to use a Gladiator bed. So I have a Gladiator bed that I bought. I've been trying to decide what I'm going to use it for. I want to take that Gladiator bed and put it full-size Jeep Cherokee, cut the body up, turn it into a crew cab, and then have a crew cab with the Gladiator bed on the back, and basically build like a full-size Jeep Cherokee / Gladiator pickup thing. I don't know if it's going to work. Now that I've just said it out loud, I don't think it's going to work at all because then it's just I don't know. Anyway, I would like to see them do some stuff with the full-size Jeeps, the Grand Wagoneers, the Wagoneers, the Cherokee Chiefs. I know they've done a couple of those, but I'd like to see them like really push the boundaries with that. And that's the next old iron that I'm going to tackle, to be honest with you. I got the Jeepster that I just got. I've been jonesing for a Jeepster for a while, so now I've got it here in the shop. I started to get parts together for it. You're going to see it on 4-wheeler next year, and so that's sort of the next big old iron Jeep that I'm going to build. Once that's done, I'm going to jump into that full-size Jeep rabbit hole. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I think it's going to be some type of crew cab pickup truck out of a full-size Jeep thing. We'll figure it out. I don't know. We'll go from there. All right, so there's your 3 questions for this week. Now let's talk about where is it now. Now this where is it now is actually going to be a rather recent vehicle that I've built. We're going to talk about the Goatbuilt LJ. So this is, but I say recent, it's 5 years old now, believe it or not, because we're into season 4. I guess it's 4 years old. No, we're into season 5. About to start season 5 of 4-wheeler, so it's, you know, basically 5 years old. And so the Goatbuilt LJ, there's a kind of a fun backstory behind that. When Motor Trend / Discovery came to me and asked about relaunching, getting me back into, you know, what we call traditional television, so on TV, I was really kind of not into it. I was like, nah, I don't really think I want to do it. I'm kind of happy just kind of doing some other stuff right now. But when we talked more, you know, I really kind of liked the idea of the show. We're going to shoot it here in my own shop, so that was another bonus for me, and I was very excited about it. And then the kicker of it all was when I sat down and talked to them and said, so what about the cars? Like, what do we do with the cars? And they basically said, we don't care about the cars. You know, if you just find the cars to make the shows, get it out. So that, I was like, yes, love that, because I like cars. Yeah, that's a slight addiction that I know that I have. So immediately I said, okay, if we're gonna launch a show and I'm gonna host it, it's gonna be 4-wheeler, we got to come out of the gate with a serious hardcore project, and that is this Goatbuilt TJ to LJ, because this thing is like, shows up as a pile of tubing and you toss it all together on the jig, and then you have a full-on throwdown Ultra 4 rock crawlery kind of car, and it is amazing. If you want to build a tube chassis car, I highly suggest that you get the Goatbuilt car, because it is so well sorted and so well thought out. It's absolutely amazing, and it's so much fun to build. There's really no guesswork in it. Everything goes together. The suspension works amazing. The vehicle works amazing. Everything just fits. It's so well thought out. Drew really did his homework on that car, and I love it. The funny backstory about that was, while I was having this conversation with Discovery about, okay, so if we're going to do this show, blah, 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 we're going to come out, we got to do a hardcore tube buggy build. At the same time, because we were using the 4-wheeler magazine name, some of the executives over on the magazine side, they were saying, oh my goodness, you're getting Ian Johnson to host that show? For goodness sake, do not let him build some crazy tube buggy as the first project, because that's what he's going to want to build. I guess I won that argument because we built the crazy tube buggy. And guess what? Super popular build. Everybody loved it. They loved the fact that we just started with a pilot tube on the floor, boom, Jeep, and then took it out and used it a whole bunch. Now, I have used that truck at a bunch of different things. I took it to 24-hour hell and back. I took it to East Jeep a few times, took it to Hammers, through some shock tuning. I've taken it to a bunch of places. Love wheeling it. We took it on the trip that we did at the end of that season, where we just basically went around and hit a bunch of off-road parks, and then ended up at my favorite whiskey distillery in Chattanooga, drinking some whiskey, which was super awesome. We just had a great time with the truck. We really did. It is a fun truck to have because, you know, it looks very Jeepy, but then at the same time, when you drive it and wheel it, oh my goodness gracious, that is a full-on throwdown hardcore off-road machine. So it's awesome. It is 5.7 LS into a Turbo 400, into an Atlas, into a couple of Spider Trax axles, and you know how much I love those axles. 42-inch red labels, 20-inch bead locks. It's got a crazy yellow powder coat, which actually is a four-wheeler yellow. We matched the logo from the magazine, and then did a black, almost like a bed liner, that's Raptor liner on the outside of the body, put it all together. And I don't have enough good things to say about that Jeep. Absolutely love it. Where is it now? Well, it's sitting in one of my garages. I love that truck. It is one of those trucks, like I said before, that you can just, I love a truck that when you build it and it's so well sorted that if you want to take it wheeling, you just got to go in and do a couple little freshen up things on it, check a few things, and out the door you go. Took it on Ultimate Adventure, which was great. Put 1,500 road miles on it on that trip, which shocked me. And it's just a really, really well working Jeep. So I still have it. I take it out occasionally. Occasionally I get a wild hair about thinking of getting rid of it, but then at the same time, I don't really have to. If I do get rid of it, it's going to be basically to expand this business here with more studio space. But at the same time, I like to keep cars, so maybe I'll keep it for a while. Who knows? I really do like it a lot. So that's where it is now. Goatbuilt LJ. Hope you guys have enjoyed these 3 questions Q&A. If you've heard your question being asked, make sure you send me your address to bigtiregarage@gmail.com, and I will get a sticker pack sent out to you ASAP. We'll see you next time, guys, from here inside the Big Tire Garage.